Hello, welcome. Thank you all for coming. We're here tonight to celebrate Ezza Ahmed. She's an educator and poet based in New York City. She holds an MFA from Brooklyn College. Her poetry is concerned with diaspora, memory, and water, rivers, creeks, lakes, etc. When she isn't writing, she enjoys cozying up with a good cup of tea, which I know personally. Her poems are in Wand Magazine, the Idaho Review, the Gingerbug Press, and are forthcoming in the Sycamore Review and Apogee Journal. It has been absolutely a delight to have you, and I wish I could have spent more time with you. And I look forward to a wonderful friendship in the future. You've been such a great poet to have here, and I'm so glad that we had you. So I look forward to hearing your poetry. Without further ado, let's listen to Ezza.
Good evening, everybody. Before I begin, I just want to thank all of the board members at the Kerouac House. Thank you, Jen, Brett, Mona, Tamara, Mariah. If I'm leaving anybody out, I don't mean to whatsoever. Thank you, John. It's been such a pleasure being here. It's been quite the experience. And I guess I can speak for a few more minutes about my experience. I'll keep it very short, and then I'll go to the poems and perhaps an explanation with each poem. But I applied to the residency, honestly, on a bit of a whim. I had stopped writing for a year, and I was very concerned with my writer's block. And so when I saw the application for this residency, I was like, I have to do this. I have to change my environment and enter into a new environment and see what kind of art that will produce. And I was honestly very fearful. And then when I got accepted, which I didn't think I was going to, I just thought the application would be enough of a push to write. I was really shocked. And for 2 days, I told no one because I was like, this isn't real. Like the first residency I applied to, I'm accepted? No way. But it, in fact, was real. I believe Jen and Brett sent me a follow-up email like, hey, did you get the first? But I'm so glad to have accepted. I feel like I've produced such great work that I never thought I would have before. And so from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for making this possible for me. And I will get into the poems. So this first one is called Road Trip. North Carolina passes through the car window. Red earth, reflective, reflection, my face long, skinny trees, eyelash the branches. The car becomes I, sedentary in every state. Grass bursting with a circus of brown lizards. Florida, finally, stretches out like a flexed tongue. Rainwater awaiting, I touch, turn into a state withering with words. So this poem was honestly about my drive up here. I drove up with my lovely parents, who are sitting right over there. And this was just about, I suppose I was thinking about the blur of driving or the blur of being a passenger, right? And where the scene is no longer an image, but it's just like a string of colors. And that's where that was born. And I also, if I was writing a Florida poem, I had to write about the lizards, which shocked me the most. I was totally unaware about the tiny little skinks and newts. Okay, this next poem is untitled. I'm losing the will to wash my face, dirt, and sebum film into a second skin. Becomes my worst version, maybe I will befriend it. Tired is ingrained in bones, heavy, dull aching in the mouth, so much swallowed in the back of the throat. There's an existence beyond my body, I know. This is the phenomenon of April. The overgrown lawn I dare not clip, surrender to my slinky shadow begins to numb, gnawing bites on my ankle. Saying I love you sours like a foot. There's a voice I cannot pry open. I long for the days I'd look in the mirror, mistake myself for my sister. Nowadays my eyes must be peeled back by another, like a thin-skinned tangerine. I've become so minuscule. Seasons are unreliable. Summers where the sky won't even hiss back an H. That's all I want. Suffocation, nights where I was clawing at my own neck and wondering whose hands these were. Everyone's saying you need to live outside yourself to be yourself, but I've been on the outside for 2.5 years, and I've lost my way back. Some destinations have no return, except memory. God, always memory. The best times play in the mineral wash mocking me, tinted yellow. Was it ever real? God, I mean river, I'm so thirsty, but what does a glass even hold? Library, sitting teeming with the grief of everything on a seat lit by the body of some stranger, I'm reminded that there's still a warmth housed within me. I don't want it to end, but it's just that a tree should know better than to outgrow the sky. Cesar Vallejo said some blows in life, they are so heavy, I don't know what to call them, and I don't know how to answer. So I'm going to go to thank you. I'm going to go to my next poem called Creation. So, Creation. Again, now I'm dreaming of drowning, except I become an animal of consumption. So I am able to live the whole night was 12 a.m. and the dark navy of whispering broke the sky and river, was bleeding everywhere. I couldn't tell if it was water, but there was something in those soft veins snaking within me a riverbed. Thank you. So this next poem that I have is also untitled, but I have titled I've broken it into 3 separate sections, and so those 3 separate sections are titled. So it's all one poem, but just different sections. So, The Good. The year before the war, they learned all the ways to eat onions and tomatoes and how to say things in funny ways. Old money, photographs, scraps of some other time wrapped in newspaper, sealed tight like the lips of those who saw too much. Soon the war settled in and clung onto their bodies, how starved apples grasp at their own skin. Every other roof began to crumble, but they played the game of pretending it was a new music, their only music. The city had become dust, limbs of homes reaching through flames. By the second year, more than half of the homes sunk into shadow. Kashmir had fallen, but by then they already left. So, 2, memory. My grandmother knows how to keep a secret, how to keep it under her skin, she says. Years later, she tells us about the dark, nightfall leaking into their homes, swishing in and out of windows, the water losing its flow, the water was no longer water. How, when dumped in a river, skin can crack like glass. Speaking. I've made limp the limited language we hold between us, and now that she's gone, each word fights against my tongue, not quite feeling at home, not quite wanting to leave. My ancestral tongue, nothing more than a lost poem. And now there are many wars, years before and after, muddle into kaleidoscopic. Vision is disputed territory. Every minute, dusk bruises into some sky, like a child reddened with sleep, only a breath away. Sleep, a breath away. Thank you. Sure, yes. Okay. Okay, I have 2 more poems, so this is the second to last one. It's called Airstrike at Peace. Teacups stained like the girl's cheeks. On the roof, 2 children. In the kitchen, a pot of milk simmers. Below, a faint blue flame sways like the boy's kite, softening into the sky. Cinnamon and cardamom slow dance like children, circling around one another who never join hands. Milk rises like the girl's blush, the spring where 2 roses bloom, The spring were two children. Closer, the boy whispers, his hand outstretched like a thinning cloud. Cinnamon tunnels into a whirling boil, cardamom a ship lost at sea. The boy's nerves tunnel into his stomach, the girl's dress, blossoming as she skips, only a few feet away. A few feet away, soldiers gather in bunches, like pomegranates ready to burst, like the nylon biting into the boy's fingers. He smiles closer, eyes downcast. She puts a hand forward. As a violent rush of milk, no wind, rips into the boy's kite. As a plane melts into sky, ready to melt city and two children, who never join hands, but feel each other's warmth through hovering fingertips. Milk crusts on the stove top like a scorched field. Right before he says closer, her last step faded to smoke. Teacups shatter. Two children on the roof. Okay, so my last one, I promise, is much more lighthearted. Those two were quite heavy, but those are typically the themes I tend to write. Though with the first two poems that I had read, I was trying to challenge myself outside of my typical theme. And so my last one is also serious to me, of course, because it's my work, though lighthearted in nature, where I was having fun and participating in a lot of wordplay. So it's called Second Glance. For months now, I see phantom bugs fidgeting off screen windows, laptops, cars pass, making the figure of a person who was never there. I grow accustomed to the art of blinking. I've been pondering on trees, their nervous, thinning roots reaching for water has no end or beginning. And neither do some dreams. I awake, lingering fingers of a headache. Yesterday and tomorrow tremble. Trepidation of a first touch itches at the surface level. I'm having a wonderful time. Ask me. I will always have an answer. Thank you so much for listening.